the Ground and Pound Show. I'm Jim Jenkins along with host Andy Clareman. How are you, Andy?
I'm doing good tonight, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing good. Tuesday night's our third one here. We're finding a home and getting used to Tuesdays. So.
Good luck to us.
We also got in the house, of course, we've got Jan on a camera for us. We've got Burger Fighter from Burger MMA, from Steve Burger MMA, Tony Wolf, who's also the Sudden Impact 185-pound champ now.
All right, Tony.
Sweet. Good to see you again, Jay. And then we've got his wife, and actually our reporter too, Jen Wolf. How are you?
Just fine.
There you go. So we're going to be joined later by Dan Nieder-Schulte and Jeff Harrison from Combat Elements MMA. We'll be talking a lot of UFC and Strikeforce news, and I think we'll be talking a little bit about the upcoming regional events going on. And it's kind of a quiet week, I think, for us, other than the pro stuff. Not a lot going on in the region.
Jen, were there any fights last week?
Yeah, we went to Battle at the Ballroom at Fisher's Restaurant in Belleville, Illinois, Jim Boucher's production. So it was my first one. It was one of my first ones going to see Boucher's show. I did help quite a bit with the fight card. So we had one burger guy on the Dan O'Connor was on the fight card, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised. Very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I heard that was his best show in a while, and that he's putting together a crew of new help there to help him run a good, smooth show, and that it was a really good one.
Right. He did have a couple of issues with the judges for the kickboxing matches. Jay D'Amato was the referee for the MMA matches. Jay did a great job as usual.
The judges, period.
Yeah, the judges. I'm not sure.
You're not sure what matches they were watching?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Jay wasn't even sure what matches they were watching. He's like,
what
are you doing?
I was talking to Jay, and we couldn't understand how two guys could score 30-27, and then the third guy scored 30-27 the other way. I mean, totally opposite. We were wondering if they were even watching the same fight. And every time Jay would ask him, "Are you sure you're not getting the guy switched over or something?"
Yeah, it's like
his
red corner, blue corner wrong.
Well, that's what Jay thought too. And he went over to talk to the guy, and the guy was like, "I know what I'm doing. Don't come over here and question me."
Oh, that's great.
So Jay,
so teachable, and he's about advancing himself in the sport and getting better.
Right. And then there was another fight, a kickboxing fight that they issued a decision for one fighter, and it was actually a draw.
Yeah.
And Jay had to go over to him after the fight was over with and be like, the judges scored it exactly identical for both fighters. How can you issue a decision for one fighter when it's a draw? There's no majority. It's a draw.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 judges scored it even, and then the third judge scored it. One guy won, and the other guy didn't. But still, the 2 override the wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that was the deal. And the guy that announced it admitted it was his fault that he didn't know. So at least they fixed it. They brought the guys back out. Both corner guys, their trainer said it was fine. Bring them back out. Announce it right. And I thought it was more fair because I didn't get to see the fight. I just seen the end of it, and it looked like just hard-nosed, straight-up battle. They seemed equal in all aspects. So, and it was a fearless guy. So.
Yeah, it was Mike Sunninger, and he fought one of Fawad Krivanovich's guys who they train at Voggies, and so that was a good fight, I heard.
Very good fight.
I'm really impressed. Was it sanctioned event?
It was sanctioned by Kick.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim won't. He absolutely refuses to do a show without sanctioning by. So, which I was very, very happy with. I told him, I said, the only thing they started a little bit late, 8:30, but there was no long lapses between fights. They kept it moving. They only took 2 short intermissions. They kept it rolling.
He's been doing about 5-6 shows a year, at least 5 out there for the last 15 years. I mean, he was doing a lot of professional kickboxing back in the day with a lot of the guys that ended up getting world championships and stuff. But he's been doing 5 shows a year for 15 years out there. So
yeah. He announced Friday night that he's been there for 20 years. He plans on being there for another 20.
Yeah. So it was a very, very good card. There was a couple of gyms that I'd never seen fighters out of. Champions Gym in East St. Louis.
That's Boucher's, yeah.
Very, very impressed with some of their fighters. Very impressed. I never got to see any of those.
That's his team and group, yeah.
I had never got to see any of them before. And
who's the trainer out there? Do we know?
The trainer is
it Ernie Kitterman?
No,
They've had a lot of people who work out there, like former kickboxing world champ Ernie Kitterman, I know has worked with them. Mike Taylor's worked with them. Jim's worked with them. They've got a guy, George, a pro out there.
Well, I know Mike Taylor, he's at the Fairview Heights Boxing Gym now.
Right,
So he's
but
not down there
over the
anymore.
years, there've been a lot of people.
Right, right. Okay. I guess it's on one of my other sheets, I'm sorry. I spilled coffee on all of them as I was on my way here.
Yeah, not a problem.
So,
Now,
but yeah.
Jay told me that he got booed after one of the fights.
Yes,
That's
he did.
most likely the last
Oh,
fight.
tell us more.
Now, he didn't, he said, but he wasn't the one who stopped the fight. It was
He
the
wasn't.
doctor.
The doctor stopped the fight for a nasty cut to the guy that was beating the other opponent. And I mean, it was a good,
But Jay said it went from like 1 inch to like 3 inches in
yes, it
a
was
very short period of time.
good cut. And the fight had just started. The doc came in and he stopped it. And Jay said, there's nothing I can do, you know. It's a doctor stoppage. So, yeah,
People
they were
don't care. Isn't that
they
kinda
don't
funny?
care.
They're just there to see people
beat each other up. Yep.
go at it.
Yep. So, I mean, the diehard fans who watch it all the time, they understand, you know. But of course, you have the one-time or two-timers who come in and don't really know what they're seeing, you know.
Right.
So,
Now, does that go down as a loss for that guy because
Yes.
it was a stoppage?
Yep.
And he couldn't continue?
Yep.
Very good. Now, how did the guy from Burger MMA do? What was his name?
Dan O'Connor.
Dan O'Connor, he fought Joe Fody.
Yeah,
Joe stepped up, took the fight
Last minute.
3 hours before the fight. He
Joe
was
Cody's
scheduled.
always game.
Class
Yeah,
Joe.
give him that.
He does it though.
Yeah.
The kid
Dan was
just.
scheduled to fight Josh Lohman, and Lohman no-showed the week of the fight and returned phone calls.
And this is the third time he's backed out of the fight with Dan. So.
Yeah.
And then he shows up to the thing. Dan
What?
fights.
Yeah.
And he mouths off to Dan that he needs to stand up more, which pissed me off because the kid backed out of the fight over some bullshit, but he shows up to help, and it's like, if you're able to walk around, fight, bounce around, joke around there, right, then mouth afterwards, he should have been in that fight.
Well, why? I mean,
He
Josh
says
is
he
an
hurt
okay
his
guy,
ankle.
I mean, I guess, but what?
He said he hurt his ankle, however, his trainer said he didn't.
Well, I don't care what he did. To
No.
sit and back out and then mouth off to the guy he's supposed to fight after the kid won, you know, it aggravated me.
He's had a little bit of history. I mean, he did a few no-shows for a while, and they kind of got him straightened out. He was showing up for a little bit, and you know.
Well, I do know that
Back
I
and
was
forth.
told that he will never be on another fight at that venue again.
Until they need a
So-
fighter.
Until they need a fighter.
Right.
Right.
So,
No, well, I understand that position because I've got a few guys I think that about too. So.
right.
But you never know.
Yeah, you never. But yeah, like I said, push comes. You know what it doesn't when it doesn't matter is when the opponent you lose. Like if it was you, and it was a good guy who worked hard, got in shape. You know, got a lot of fans there to see him. And then I lose your opponent, and the only choice I have that I can get is the guy that I don't want to get anymore, but I can get him to show up.
Right.
Then you do it for the other person.
Right.
But
Right.
you don't do it to help them until
You
they're...
definitely don't try to schedule them
No.
an actual fight because chances of them coming, there's a handful of them that I can think of too that do that. You just call them last minute and 9 out of 10 times they'll show up, but if you try scheduling them, they find a reason to back out for some reason.
Now, the big news in Illinois last week was that they're not going to require blood work for amateurs, and they're not
That's
going to
correct.
require the pre-fight physical.
No, the pre-fight physical, the day of the fight, before the fight,
With the doctor right
with
there.
the doctor right there is still required. The physical you get from your general ND when you get your blood work done is no more. This is of last Thursday.
You know, I think a lot of people are not going to like hearing that because they want to get into that ring with confidence that they're not going to. I mean, blood
Mm-hmm.
is stricken in this sport all the time.
Right, and now with staph so rampant, a deadly strain of staph so rampant in
But
all
they don't even
MMA
check for that.
fighters.
And
Right.
it wouldn't work.
That's
Right.
just it. That's what.
I mean,
No, they were
hepatitis,
checking for
HIV.
Yeah,
major
but HIV,
things,
that's-
but you don't want to get
You
in
know.
the ring with these guys who have those for sure.
Exactly, exactly. I mean,
The one good thing is that for the promoters now, when somebody doesn't show up for a fight, they can pull somebody out of the crowd to
right,
fight.
because it
you
is
know.
a lot harder for Illinois promoters to fill their fight cards at the last minute when somebody backs out.
Not no more.
Not anymore. So, I also have one other big news. The Lance Benoist and Josh Weston fight is off.